Okay, my friends, let us begin. We are on 9b3. Baruch atah Adonai, Eloheinu melech haolam she'akol nהיה baruch.
Amen.
It says the Mishnah. Let's start the Mishnah again. Le'echan golin. Where does the inadvertent murderer, where does he go? Where is the safe cities that they need to run to? What are we talking about? Says the Gemara, says the Mishnah, Zaharei Miklat, to the cities of Miklat means something that's kolet, that absorbs. It's like an absorption center, a sanctuary city. The shalosh be'evar, then there's three on one side of the river Jordan, ushalosh be'eretz Canaan, and three in Eretz Israel. Shnei Amar, like it says in the pasuk, shalosh harim tetnu be'evar Yarden, put three on the other side of the Jordan, because 2.5 tribes lived on the other side of the Jordan, right? Reuven, Gad, and Chatzi Shevet Menashe.
It's still Eretz Yisrael.
It became like annexed to Eretz Israel. They conquered it when the peoples came out to attack them. They conquered Sichon and Og.
What land is that today?
That's the land outside in the desert, Transjordan, where Jordan is.
Oh, so it's Jordan.
Yeah. Okay. Across the Jordan River. שלוש הערים תיתנו בעבר הירדן, ואת 3 הערים תיתנו בארץ כנען, and 3 in Eretz Israel. עד שלא נבחרו 3 שבארץ ישראל, however, as we mentioned last time, the 3 in Eretz Israel were obviously not designated until 14 years hence. Why? Because it took 14 years for them to be able to conquer Eretz Israel. So, in that period of time, between the time when the first 3 were designated across the Yarden, and when the next 3 were consecrated as sanctuary cities, the first 3 also did not work, even though they were set aside and designated. Why? What's the reason? Those 3 would not absorb a shogeg killer. Like it says, there shall be 6. So it tells you 3 here, 3 here. I can do the math. Why did the pasuk then need to say there shall be 6, indicating that until there shall be 6, none of them exist. So it's a 6-pack. I was thinking to myself the other day when I was learning the Gemara, you ever buy a 6-pack of Coke cans or whatever, it says at the top, not for individual resale.
Right.
Only comes in a 6-pack. That's what the Mishnah is telling you. Shnei 6 arei miklat tiyena. Ad shiyu sheshtan koltot ke'achat. Until they all can do it together. Umuchuvanot lahen derachim mizu lezu. And there were pathways from every single one of the cities directly to one of the arei miklat. Shnei like it says, tachin lecha aderech. You should prepare the way, v'shilashta, and divide the land into segments that will allow a person to be able to escape to the nearest, to the nearest city of Ir Miklat. Now, just so we understand, try and imagine the 3 cities being distributed equally in thirds of Eretz Israel. So they divided as Vishilashta, 1, 2, 3. 1 city of refuge up here, 1 in the middle, 1 in the bottom. On the Jordan side, exactly the same. So there's parallel. If there's 1 here, there's 1 here, and then 1 here, and then 1 here.
So it sounds like every city is equidistant to one city?
Well, we not equidistant, because there'll be 1 right next to it, right? And then there'll be 1 in the middle. But the cities of refuge were relatively equidistant from one another. Okay. Not exactly, but relatively equidistant from one another. And the idea was that wherever you were in Eretz Israel, there was going to be somewhere that was going to be close to you. Okay? Now that that's true, that the cities were actually set up like a 6-pack, okay? 1, 2, 1, 2, 1, 2. There was a road directly from every city. So when you were preparing the roads, that's what you needed to do to ensure that from the city of Deal directly to city of refuge A, which is the closest one, there's 1 road. It's a direct road. You don't have to go from here there. It's the closest, what they say, the shortest route between 2 points is a direct line, is a straight line. So they created straight pathways from every city. They built a road, and they needed also to maintain that road so that there would always be an opportunity for someone to go by. Now that sounds a little bit strange to us, but try and remember that roads were not paved superhighways. They were dirt roads. If it rains and there's a flood, the road might completely disappear. It was Bet Din's obligation, the city's obligation, to ensure and to maintain the roads for inadvertent murderers to be able to escape to Te'ir Miklat. You give to this murderer two Talmidei Chachamim to accompany them. Because maybe the guy will get killed on the way. And if the angry relative comes to kill the guy, which he has the right to do, they would talk to him and try and convince him not to. Tell him, listen, it's true you're allowed to, but really, let's stop the violence. You know, he didn't mean to do it. It was inadvertent. Don't kill him. Okay? They would speak to him. Rabbi Meir says, "Af hu medaber al yidei atzmo." Now you see that little parentheses around the word "af." That changes everything. Look at the Gemara. Okay, "Af." You see the parentheses right there it's in the first word on the line.
Yeah.
Af.
Yes.
So already in the Gemara, if you look, that little chet takes you to Mesoret Hashas. Excuse me. It takes you to no, not Mesoret Hashas. It takes you to where is it here? To Mesoret Hashas. Ayin Tosfot Yom Tov. He's telling you that Tosfot Yom Tov picks up on this af. What is this af telling you? This is fascinating. Ready for this? If Rabbi Meir says af, let's read it together as af. Rabbi Meir Omer af hu medaber al yidei atzmo. He also speaks for himself. What's Rabbi Meir telling you? The Talmidei Chachamim are together. Af means also, even, also. Meaning that Rabbi Meir agrees with the first opinion and says that not only do the Talmidei Chachamim speak up for him, af hu medaber, he also speaks for himself. Where does Rabbi Meir learn this from? Because it says in the pasuk, Shneimar v'zeh devar harotzeach. The word devar harotzeach literally means this is the chapter of. This is the issue of. This is how we deal with this. Devar, davar. But the Gemara, the Mishnah, according to Rabbi Meir, is saying it's looking at that word and seeing the double entendre of the word dibur, and it's saying zeh devar harotzeach. This is the words of the rotzeach. The rotzeach has words. What words does the killer say? The answer is he speaks directly to the guy who's trying to kill him, and he tries to de-escalate the situation. I know you're really upset with me. I know you want to kill me. I know you have the right to kill me. I'm on the road. I didn't get there yet. But please, I didn't mean to do it. I never would have done it. Let me help take care of the yitomim and the almanot. Whatever he's going to say, he gets a chance to be able to de-escalate the situation. Okay? So far, so good? So far, so good? Yeah, wait, I'll finish this point. That's how you read the Mishnah with af. So the guy is basically spoken to by Talmidei Chachamim, appointed by the Beit Din, to walk with him from the court to the place of the city of refuge. Okay. The second way of looking at this, Rabbi Meir says, and not only them, but he also should plead his own case. What's Rabbi Meir telling you? If Rabbi Meir did not tell you this, what would have happened? How would you have seen this if Rabbi Meir did not tell you this? So the guy is being convinced by the two Torah scholars.
It would just say this Torah
They're not getting through to him.
That's it. Then it's over.
It's over? Rabbi Meir says, no, you should talk also. Well, you think the guy's not going to talk if you didn't tell him to? What was Rabbi Meir? Practically, what is he telling you? What would have been different if Rabbi Meir did not tell you this? So let's try to understand.
Maybe he's saying that the guy has to listen to him speak, otherwise he can't.
It doesn't say that he has to listen to him speak.
No, it doesn't say that. But
I thought you were about to say something. Maybe it's saying that he has to. Maybe what Rabbi Meir is saying is that the inadvertent murderer has an obligation to speak up and to defend his case. So in other words, he could just say, listen, you know something? I killed this guy. Look at the damage I caused. The guy wants to kill me. This is the halakha. It's coming to me. What we're learning over here is no. You understand that? That may be the pshat in Rabbi Meir. Rabbi Meir is telling you, you don't have an option. I think you answered. You got answered. You got to end the call. Moses, we're in the middle of class.
I ended it. Here we go. Did I end the Zoom?
Yes.
Sorry.
It's okay. Meeting ID.
Let me silence my phone.
Done. Join. Move with the passcode now.
You don't have the
Use the
password?
link, it goes without the password.
The link stopped dropping
the
down
link
for some reason.
is not dropping anymore.
You know, on the chat, usually the link.
It's not on top.
Oh, because I'll repin it. It pins for 30 days at a
Why
time.
is
Okay.
Oh, that's what it is.
Okay, sorry.
Recording in progress.
Sorry, guys.
Put it in the description. It's in the description.
We got cut off. I know, it's a phone call came through, that's why. Okay, we're back on. All right, Hazit Nathan now needs to pull over on his bike ride to join. He's trying to put in the passcode. Hazit, okay. Sorry, Nathan. Okay, so listen to this, guys. Maybe what Rabbi Meir is saying is, let's say the guy feels, you know something? I deserve it. I deserve this. Maybe this is what I have to go through. The guy got here. He has got me literally dead to rights. The Talmidei Chachamim tried to convince him. He didn't listen. Okay, what can I do? This is my kapara. The Torah is telling you, Rabbi Meir is saying, no. You also have an obligation. And if you don't stand up, then you're actually the cause of a sin. Because you should have tried to stop him, and you didn't.
How are you the cause of a sin if you're stopping someone from doing a mitzvah?
Because the way he's looking, the way the Mishnah is teaching us, is that while he has a mitzvah, his mitzvah is only a mitzvah
On him.
Listen to this, and this is what I'm going to say. What does it say that the Goel Adam could do? He could kill him. But under what circumstances? Ki yicham, because his blood is hot.
Because he can't overcome him.
Yicham damo.
He's overcome.
Oh, so the mitzvah is only a
Sit
mitzvah
down.
if he's there. But if he's not there, then there's no mitzvah. The talk itself removes him from the category of being the person that has a mitzvah to go and kill. Okay, is that clear? So we'll come to this also when we learn it. But maybe the pshat in Rabbi Meir, according to this understanding, is Rabbi Meir is saying is you got to try. Even if they failed, you have to try. Okay, that's the second thing. Now, by the way, if the guy's trying to kill you, do you have a right to kill him?
Yes.
Yeah, it's a mitzvah.
Yeah. Yes. He's a rodef.
So maybe that's what Rabbi Meir is telling. I'm a black belt ninja. They try to convince him not to try with me. Right? They failed. Now the guy's coming at me.
So that guy's
I'm going to
gonna
kill
kill
him
him.
in 2 seconds.
Oh boy.
Am I allowed to let this guy, this fat jalub cousin, come at me, right? When I know I'm now going to kill him in self-defense.
Oh boy.
So maybe that's also what Rabbi Meir is telling us.
So technically speaking, the murderer, the inadvertent killer, if he's being hunted down, he can kill a person chasing him.
Rodef. We'll see. We'll see.
So that's
We'll see. Assuming that that's the case.
so that's enough of a deterrent for a lot of people, I would imagine.
For a
rational person.
Yeah, for a person that might be scared that the situation would flip on him. Now we'll have to cover. Let's see. We'll see if this is all true. Okay, but at least the way we understand simply, right? The second approach in Rabbi Meir is completely different, because all hinges on that word, even also.
But how could there be a machloket on that word? It's either in the Mishnah or it's not.
No, this is a question of a girsah. We have 2 different gemarot, right? 2 mishnayot that were handed down. One mishnah had the word af in it. One mishnah, or one gemara, excuse me, did not have the word af in it. Okay? And Rabbi Meir is completely different. Okay? Let's try to
It
understand.
wasn't hard enough to figure out the Mishnah.
Let's try and read it now according to this girsah. Okay? The other girsah. The Tanakh Hama says, we sent 2 Talmidei Chachamim. Rabbi Meir doesn't say, oh, and also he speaks up, meaning them 2 plus him. Rather, he says, no, the Rotzeach is the one that speaks. Not even the Rotzeach speaks. Only the Rotzeach speaks. There are no 2 Talmidei Chachamim. There are no guardians. Once the guy, they say to him, Galut, the guy has to run for his life by himself. And if the guy approaches him, that's when he engages with him and tries to talk him down off the tree.
That actually makes more logical sense.
What does?
The latter interpretation. Because if you think about it, the guy's running away, right? He sent 2 Talmidei Chachamim to run with him.
I guess Talmidei Chachamim were in better shape then than they are now.
I just think about it, right? Like
You're slowing me
the
down!
guy's running for his life,
Holding his Gemara.
and you have two Talmidei Chachamim like trying to keep pace with him.
Right.
Does it really like?
In your mind, they don't have the same desperation.
No.
Okay. Maybe it's like, the old motorcycle that had the sidecar.
Motorcade.
Like, Talmidei Chacham on either side.
It's like Floyd Mayweather when he goes to Israel.
The inadvertent money trade. Okay. Let's continue. Says the Mishnah. Rabbi Yossi bar Rabbi Yehuda Omer. Rabbi Yossi bar Yehuda says, "Patechila echad shogeg v'echad mezid mekdimin la'arei miklat." In the beginning, okay, right as soon as somebody realizes Shema Yisrael, I fired this gun, I threw this rock, I dropped this thing, the trowel fell out of my hand, the axe one flew off. Echad shogeg, echad mezid mekdimin la'arei miklat. Whether it's advertent or inadvertent, whether it's on purpose or not. The minute a murder is committed, the guy runs to Imiklat. You know why? Because we don't know when it's going to be ruled. Figure it out later. But in the interim, the guy might come for me. And then I don't have the protection of the Imiklat. Says the Gemara. So then what happens? At that point, once the guy gets to safety, then they go and they pick him up in the in the armored van. They pick him up, they bring him to the courthouse. If the guy's chayav mita, they see him, they find him guilty, haragu, they execute him. If the guy did not chayav mita, it was not on purpose, it was not an act of murder, it was not with witnesses, it was not with a warning. Pitaru, if the guy was completely innocent because it was honest, he fell off the roof, nothing he could have done. Okay? Broke off in his hand. Pitaru, they would poter, they would say, no galut, no execution. Mishnet chayev galut, what's the third option? The person who is obligated galut because he killed inadvertently, all right, and it was not too negligent or not negligent enough. So Mr. Perfectly placed shogeg murderer, Mishnet chayev galut, machzirin oto lemekomo. They bring him back to the city that he came from, the Ir Miklat that he came from. Shneimar v'yishivu oto ha'eda el Ir Miklato. They bring him back to his Ir Miklat. The Mishnah is, I believe, pointing out that it doesn't say they bring him to Ir Miklat, but we bring him back to Ir Miklato, his Ir Miklat. What makes it his Ir Miklat? So you could say that the Mishnah just means the Ir Miklat that is closest to him.
The one he was at.
No, what I'm saying is, if you don't want to say, like the Mishnah is presupposing here, that immediately you ran to the Ir Miklat, then we took you out, and now we're putting you back in. That's why it says his Ir Miklat, because that's the one that you were in. Okay. The other way is no, that's not how it worked. You just went to court, and you only went to Galut the first time. So then why would it say his Ir Miklat then? If you didn't hold that this is what happened, that people ran straight to Ir Miklat before the court case, why would it say his Ir Miklat? His would be defined by the one that was in his neck of the woods. So in other words, let's say there's Ir Miklat called Asbury Park, okay? So as an example, that's his Ir Miklat, even if he's never been there. But that's the local Orthodox Ir Miklat, okay? Let's continue.
So he doesn't run after that happens?
When?
He goes to Ir Miklat, they bring him back, they bring him to court, now he has Galot. Do they escort him back, or does he have to run back?
According to Rambam, that's what the Mishnah was talking about before, when it says he's escorted by two Talmidei Chachamim.
Oh, so it's in the later part of the sequence.
That's how Rambam learns it. You don't have to learn it that way, but just imagine the logical difficulty, like you said earlier. The guy is sitting there with a dripping knife. By mistake, he was trying to cut his steak. So all of a sudden, someone went, "Hey!" And how's he? Okay, fine. This is what happened. The guy murders. He's not sure. Is it advertent? Is it shogeg? Is it mezid? He now has to run. What is the guy? Rabbi Fari, quickly! Right, he's gonna quit. In the middle of the night, he's calling up. Right, he's fine. Where's he getting to? Talmidei Chachamim. Who's appointing them? He's running from wherever he's running. Who said there's even two Talmidei Chachamim with him in Ibiza? You understand? It's like it doesn't. It sounds like Rambam is saying something very logical. Yeah. That we're talking about that from the Beit Din is going to appoint two Talmidei Chachamim. So it makes a lot of sense.
It does.
But in terms of the raw halakha of the Mishnah, it doesn't have to be that way. You could have learned the Mishnah that these two Talmidei Chachamim are accompanying him, and what will be in a scenario where the guy couldn't find Talmidei Chachamim? That's the outlying case. Right. And in that case, he runs without Talmidei Chachamim. But in a scenario where we would appoint two Talmidei Chachamim to escort him there to be able to do that. You can't? Okay, what are you going to do? You can't. Okay? So there's two ways to see the Mishnah. Everyone have the Mishnah so far locked in our minds? Yeah. So what do we see in the Mishnah? We learned about the three cities on one side, the three cities inside. We learned about paving the roads. We learned about direct routes. We learned about the fact that they only come into effect once there's 6. We learned about the fact that two Talmidei Chachamim go with him according to the the Tanakama, and we learned about Rabbi Meir that either says additionally he speaks for himself or exclusively he speaks for himself. That was the first part of the Mishnah. Second part of the Mishnah says that this is how it used to work, that it would start right as soon as an act of murder, either purposeful or not, would happen. The guy would run to the Miklat. We would drag him back to Beit Din to be able to have the ruling, either administer punishment or send him back home if he's patur. But if he is in the perfect sweet spot for galut, then return him back to the city of Ir Miklat. So far, that was the Mishnah in a nutshell. Good?
They both go back.
What?
They both go back, whether inadvertent or not. They both go back.
What do you mean?
They go
No.
back to the refuge.
No. If it's not inadvertent and it's on purpose to the point we're going to kill you, we execute him. If it's not on purpose and it's an honest, like there's nothing he could have done, there's no negligence, he goes back home. What if it's in the middle, so to speak, where it's inadvertent, but it's too harsh for galut to work? What does the guy do? Nothing. He stays at home and he invests in an amazing security system. Because this guy, galut doesn't work for him, but the Goel Adam is allowed to kill him. By the way, we've discussed this already before. A person who kills on purpose also has the laws of Goel Adam. Let's say a guy kills on purpose, but there were no witnesses to be able to indicate it. This guy, what? He can't be killed by the Goel Adam? He can. And galut doesn't help for him. So on some level, there's a impediment for a person to kill someone because you know that by Torah law, if I did it on purpose, but there just wasn't warning. Or as an example, let's say the two witnesses that witnessed it were related to each other. Right? They can't bear witness. We know that already, right? So two brothers see the guy killed their third brother. What's the halakha? The edut doesn't work, but we know what happened. We saw it. Even if we gave him warning, there's not two witnesses. But we are now allowed to kill the guy because we know without a shadow of a doubt. Now, we have to wait to see whether Beit Din is going to decide or not, based on the case, what they're going to decide. Does he go to galut? Does he not go to galut? But in that scenario, we have an opportunity to kill him. If the people themselves know, we'll have to cover this. If the brothers themselves know what happened exactly, are they allowed to exercise their right before he gets to Beit Din? We'll have to see. That's unclear.
Yes.
Right? What's the proof?
He's running.
What do you mean?
They can kill him
He's
without
not
a
in
witness.
refuge to be protected, so he's running away. So in that time, they can kill him
How do you know that that's true about before Beit Din?
because he
He
has.
runs the Mishnah, he runs
Because the Mishnah says, as soon as the murder happens, you run to the city of Miklat. Why are you running there? Obviously, for the Miklat.
Right.
Obviously, for the protection. And if you need the refuge, that means that they're
did
allowed to kill you, right? So, you guys see the correlation? Okay, let's continue the Gemara. The Gemara says as follows. Tan Rabbanan. Shalosh Arim Hevdil Moshe Be'ever Eden. 3 cities Moshe separated. We already explained why did Moshe separate them? Because he was given the commandment of doing this, but he was not allowed to go into Eretz Israel. So what did Moshe want to do? As Yavdil Moshe, he wanted at least to have a portion in the mitzvah, so he began the mitzvah. Ukinegdan Hevdil Yehoshua. By the way, I read something unbelievable about a great pillar of Am Yisrael who was passing away, and he knew that they needed They needed to build a mikveh in the city. But he knew also that he did not have the prognosis to be able to survive to build a building. So what he did was, he got the committee, he went down himself, he put the foundation stone, and then he died. And he knew that he was going to die. But he wanted to start the project because the zechut goes to the person, right, who starts. There's a tremendous zechut in the person. There's also zechut to the person who finishes. But there's a zechut for the person who starts the project. So sometimes a person thinks, I'm going to start this project, it's too late. What do we learn from Moshe? As if Moshe, even if you know for sure, normally you think, start, who knows what will happen. Here we're learning from Moshe, even if you know for sure that you won't finish it, and for sure that it won't even work, because it's not going to be collected until the other 3 are set aside. Still, starting it is a chilik of the mitzvah. Says the Mishnah, says the Gemara. Ukenegdan Hevdil Yoshua, and opposite them, like we said, equidistant or parallel, not equidistant, parallel to them and perpendicular to them. They were set up. Kenegdan Hevdil Yoshua be'eretz Canaan, in the land of Canaan. Mechuvanot hayu ki min shtei shurot shebekerem. They were equally lined up, like when you have a vineyard and you're planting along the furrows in the ground. So you plant one here, one here, one here, one here, one here, one here. So they're lined up in order and they matched each other.
As the population grows, we're not allowed to add more cities.
Oh, we'll see that already. Are there only 6? Absolutely not. There's a huge amount. We'll see in just a minute, okay? Says the Gemara. Chevron beYehuda, kineged Betzer b'midbar. So Chevron in Yehuda, if you go across into the desert by the Jordan, is equal to the one which is called Betzer. So you have Chevron, Betzer. You have Shechem, Har Ephraim, right? That Shechem is where the city where we know of Marat HaMachpelah. Okay? Opposite that, Kineged Ramot Bagilad. The heights.
Cities.
What?
These are pretty holy cities today.
Yeah, we'll see exactly what that means. Okay, we're not there yet. Shechem Har Ephraim, Kineged Ramot Bagilad. Kedesh, right? Behar Naphtali. So this city of Kedesh, Kineged Golan Babashan, by the Golan in the Bashan, the mountains. So those are the 3 that you have, all spread out throughout Eretz Israel. Continues the Braita. Vishilashta, you shall divide it into 3. Sheyehu Mishulashim. Now the idea is that when you're setting up these cities, the refuge cities are going to be equidistant. Let's say there's 10 miles from one to the second. There should also be 10 miles from the second to third. Shehem Darom leChevron, Kim meChevron leShechem. From the southern to the Chevron, so from the bottom tip of Israel to Chevron, which is the southern city, Kim meChevron leShechem, equal to the distance between Chevron and Shechem, which is the next one. UmiChevron leShechem, and from Chevron to Shechem should have the same amount of distance from Mishchem leKedesh, right? UmiShechem leKedesh, from Shechem to Kedesh, is equal to Kedesh to the northernmost border of Israel. So let's say, for an example, 10 miles from top to Kedesh, 10 miles, therefore, Kedesh to Shechem, to Shechem, and 10 miles from Shechem to Hebron, and 10 miles from Hebron to the southernmost border of Eretz Israel. Mishchem leKedesh, ki mikedesh letzafon. Says the Gemara, be'ever hayaden, tlat be'eret, tlat, be'eretz Israel tlat. 3 in one and 3 in the other. But that's a problem, says the Gemara. Why? Because I told you already, how many people are living on the other side of the Jordan?
2 tribes.
2.5. Uven, Gad, Chatzi Shevet Menashe. Okay? So 2.5 are living there. And they have 3 cities. And the whole of the Jewish people are living in Eretz Israel. And again, you only have 3 cities. Doesn't make sense. The Gemara says, Amar Abaye, Begilad Shchichi Rotzechim.
More likely to be murderers.
In Gilad, there were murderers. It was much more common.
That's a future statement.
Sorry?
That's a future statement.
Yeah.
At that time.
Nevuah, yeah.
Right.
100%. Okay? Nevuah. In Gilad, there were going to be far more murders.
Why would anyone in their right mind, after hearing that, want to live there?
Good question. You know what the answer is?
Why they live in New York City.
There you go. You took the words right out of my mouth. People like sometimes to live in a place which is an economic center. And Reuven, Gad, and Chatzi Shevet Menashe said, here we have more land for our animals, more space. This is where we want to live. And, you know, there's a famous line that says, Chen makom al yoshveh, which means the grace of a place is upon its inhabitants. You know, I don't understand when I go to certain cities how people want to live there. I don't understand. I don't get it. You know, I see triple parking in Brooklyn. I'm thinking to myself, I don't ever want to live here, right? Someone else from Brooklyn will come to Manhattan, see all the hustle bustle. They're like,
a true deal, boy.
right? They'll say to about Manhattan, I don't ever want to live here with the hustle and bustle, all apartments. I'd much rather live in a house, right? Person who's living in Deal says both of you are crazy.
For sure.
I want to live in the sticks
they're right, though.
with the deer, right? This is ideal. Sorry, all right, for the pun, right? This is ideal. This is where we want to live. I have friends that grew up in South Africa. Everyone in South Africa, either themselves or someone in their family, was held up at gunpoint in a car.
Gosh.
They were carjacked. Everyone. They're not leaving. They're still there. And they live in houses, and there's electric fences around their houses. And the people have shotguns in their home.
They love it.
And that's where they live. Chen, makom, al yoshveh. You can get used to anything. So the people in Gilad probably found themselves in a similar headspace. Tichtiv, like the pasuk says, Gilad kiryat poale aven, akuba midam. Fascinating. Gilad is a place, Kiryat is a city of people who do the wrong thing. Akuba Midam, right? It's a place where which is filled with all the people who are waiting in lying in wait. Murders. Ma Akuba Bedam. What does that mean? I'm Rabbi Elazar. Shayu Okvin Laharog Nefashot. That they're following you, they're tracking you, they're chasing after you to kill you, right? So Gilad was the Johannesburg of back then. You know, people are trying to kill you, so they have what's it called? They have cities of refuge. So your first thought is, really, is this going on in the Jewish people? The answer is maybe yes. Second of all, remember, we already said that the laws of Galut also apply to Kuti and to a Ger Toshav. If you're living under Jewish rule, even if you didn't accept Judaism, but you accepted the 7 mitzvot in Noach, you have the status of a resident alien, a Ger Toshav. So you also had people like that who were raised with this mentality. So between the Jews that had lost their way in Gilad and the Kutim and the what's it called, and the Ger Toshavs, this was a common occurrence. So therefore the Gemara says we had more cities of refuge there than here. Gemara continues. Okay, I understand, right? What's hard for us to understand, if you're all the way north or all the way south, you have less options. Why?
There's nothing on top of you.
Exactly. So you only have the one above. You don't have the one below. So as
land.
wait, 1 second. I'll give you an example. The bottom one, okay, Hebron. Let's say from here to the bottom is how long? 10 miles, we said, as an example. Okay. Let's say I live at the border of Israel. How far am I? 10 miles. Okay. Let's say the other guy, right, who wound up exactly above Hebron is 10 miles from the next place. But he's no miles from there.
Okay.
So in other words, in that scenario, anyone who's from the middle of the country, right, would never more than 5 miles away.
Okay.
Right? Never. It's just physically impossible. For me, I could be 10 miles away. So how come?
Saying why not put it on the borders?
How come we don't have? No, it just seems unfair, and it's not equally divided, right? You would need to put an extra one there, so I could be 5 miles away. Okay? Gemara says, how come? Answers the Gemara, B'Shechem na mishchichi rotzchim. Shechem also, there was more murderers, so therefore they needed a disproportionate amount of what's it called, of Arei Miklat in that area. D'chtiv u'kechake ish gidudim chever kohanim derech yiratzechu shchema. All right, this is crazy because you don't think about what.
Kohanim murderers.
There's you have gangs waiting for people. Who thinks of this? You don't think about this. A band of Kohanim that are waiting to murder. What is the Esther Gemara? What does that mean? Gang of Kohanim hanging out. Jonathan wants to know if he's joining the Bloods or the Crips. Let's go, right? My Chevet Kohanim. What is this band? What is this band of Kohanim? How come they're referred to in this way? Gemara says, Rabbi Elazar, Shayu mitchabrim laharog nefashot. They would get together, right, to kill people. כי כהנים הללו שמתחברים לחלוק תרומות בית הגורנות. Just like the Kohanim that would gather together to distribute terumah in the Bet Goran, in the Bet Garon, in the threshing floors, where everybody is doing, where they're getting their fruits and where they're getting their produce, processed. What is the Mishnah trying to tell you? What was so bad about these Kohanim that were doing that? The answer is that it was inappropriate to do what they were doing with regards to getting the terumah there. They were circumnavigating all the other people. It was like a mafia, right? Certain Kohanim, they treated their position like a mafia. You have people that are not good, who are Yisrael, not good that are Levi, not good that are Kohanim. You have people that are the Jewish that are not good, that are not Jewish. You have people that are religious that are not good. You have people that are not religious that are not good. You have people, and they have desires, and they can do things that are wrong. So sometimes the Kohanim, what they would do is they would band together. They would go right down to where the Yisrael was separating his terumah, and they would get in.
Give me my money.
Sorry?
Give me my maaser.
Yeah, exactly. Give me my maaser. You don't get no protection. But they would also, sometimes they would attack or they would approach a person like this in groups. So therefore no one could be held liable because it was a whole group that did it. You didn't know where, you didn't know where to put the blame. Do we have this examples of Kohanim that used and abused their position? Of course we did. So the answer is certain areas were known for more shady characters, and that was in the city of Shechem, and as well so far we read the city of Shechem and the city of Gilad had more murderers.
This is all nevuah.
Ask me a question. Come on, guys. Ask me a question.
This is like the most insane out there example.
Huh?
This is just such a far out, like, hypothetical example.
What is?
The same with the gains of the Kohanim.
This was something that took place. He's saying that he's referring to a case that took place. Okay? It's in the time of Hosea. That's the prophet that's saying this. Okay?
Then why didn't they, during Hur's assassination, before, why didn't they have a refuge before they were threatening Aram, before the sin of the golden calf? Why didn't they go after Hur,
After
and
who?
Hur's murderers?
Hur. Hur was killed by a gang. Same thing.
They killed Hur, right? Before, and that's why Aaron gave in to the golden calf.
Let's say.
So why didn't they have...
That was absolutely intentional. That's not a city as a refuge.
But why didn't they have these people sought after who killed her?
I'm not understanding the question. Those were intentional murderers.
Right, so why weren't they caught and gone after?
Because you needed to have witnesses and you needed to have a warning. But as an example, in the scenario that was, they may not have had either. But probably more to the point, the people who were the ones that carried out the murder against Hor were probably the people who worshipped the idol, because that's what they were trying to do, which were the people who were then killed themselves by the Leviim later, which was the family, ironically, of Hor. Okay, yes.
If you have two murderous cities, one on the other side of the Yarden and one in Eretz Israel,
Yeah.
then it still doesn't make sense why you have 3 and 3, because you have two murderous cities, but you have one that's much bigger with more tribes and one that has less tribes.
Answer is, Gilad has more murderers than Shechem,
But they're both murderous cities.
but far more. So they needed more over there because they're both murderous cities, but this one needed much more. You guys are missing the point.
Proportional.
No.
No.
And the answer will be the Mishnah. Ready for this? Who cares if they're murderous cities? Cities of refuge are not for murderers that are murderers. They're for inadvertent killers. So the fact that you're telling me that in Gilad they're murderers and in Shechem they're murderers, that's irrelevant to Ir Miklatz. Because if we're defining them as murderers, what are we saying? That they were not inadvertent murderers.
Right, they'll be put to death, they don't have the...
They don't need the Ir Miklat. So the whole logic that you're bringing makes no sense.
Except everyone gets to run there.
Excellent. Except that we now remember the Mishnah. The Mishnah says in the aftermath of a murder, everyone runs. Because we don't know. Advertent, not, let's see what's going to be. But running right away was therefore, so if there's a murderous city, we know that we also need to institute it there because they need to run there in the precursor. So this perhaps is a proof to what the Mishnah is saying, but Techilah, that they run right away. Here's the answer to your question, Jonathan. That's it? 6? I don't know. I kind of imagine if I, had too many Dunkin' Donuts and I'm trying to get to the city.
10 miles far.
As long as, I made up that number. It might be longer, right? The equidistant amount. But however long it is, that's it. That's all there is. 6 in the whole.
Probably much more, actually.
6 in the whole of not even of Israel. 3 in Israel,
From top to bottom, it's probably at least 100 miles.
right? There's a Starbucks on every corner, right? And we don't need any because it's all burnt coffee. Either way, says the Gemara, "V'tu leka," that's it. V'achtiv, the pasuk says, "Ve'alem tetenu 42 ir." The pasuk says that in addition to the 6 cities, there are 42 more cities that count as a ir miklat. Okay? And what are those cities called? Those are the cities of the Leviim. Amar Abaye, halalu kol tot, ben ledat, ben shelo ledat, halalu ledat kol tot, shelo ledat enan koltot. This is unbelievable. The 42 cities are sanctuary cities, but not as comprehensively sanctuary as the sanctuary cities that were set aside. The 3 cities that were set aside are sanctuary cities whether you know that they are home base or not. I'll give you an example. I'm chasing the guy. I'm gonna kill you, right? Running after him. The guy, he don't even realize as he's running, he just ran into the city outlet, the outer limits of the city of one of the 42 cities. He carries on running. He's like, please don't kill me. He's running. He has no idea that he's now actually safe. Halacha is, I can still kill him. He's in the city. He doesn't know he's in the city. He doesn't realize he's in a protected space. I can still kill him.
Because he doesn't know?
Because he doesn't know. In the 42 cities.
Those 42 is
Those
not
are
like
hidden
a published
cities.
list.
In the 42 is like quasi-sanctuary
Then
cities.
what's the point of them?
We'll see in a minute, okay? The other 3 are actually designated as sanctuary cities. The guy walks across the town border, has no idea, I have to stop, I can't kill him anymore. Okay? So the difference between the 3 and the 42 is that the 42 are actually sanctuary cities, but only if you know. The other 3 are sanctuary cities whether you know or not. Why are they designated? Absolutely, they're designated. These were cities in which the Leviim were given a place to live. Remember, the Eretz Israel was divided amongst the tribes. Levi did not get a portion like everybody else.
The scattered.
They're scattered everywhere. Why? On purpose. We wanted the Leviim, the teachers, the priests, the Leviim and the Kohanim, we wanted them spread out amongst all of Am Yisrael. Their job is a job of service, right, to Am Yisrael. So therefore, we wanted them everywhere. Those cities were defined as places the Leviim here have a space. Kind of, if you could imagine, like a reservation, right? That they have that for Native Americans. You're in the middle of whatever state, and here, right here, is a reservation. This belongs to the Apache Indians. This belongs to the Cherokees. This belongs to whatever. It doesn't make a difference, all right? Those places were quasi-sanctuaries. Why? Because they existed as cities of the Leviim. And the Torah considered that to be so to speak, a safe place. But only if you knew that it was a safe place. We'll already have to come back to this and try and understand why should there be this difference between the cities of the Leviim and the other cities. What's the logic of making it depend on whether or not you know? Where does that come from? And we'll already see, because we'll pick up from that next class. From now on, Rabotai, we're just on, all right? Unless there's a specific reason I'll let you know that we're not on, but in general, we're on. Also, if I could ask